Porro and Destiny Udogie have been two of the best fullbacks in the league this season, and a big part of that comes down to Ange. There was a lot of question marks around Pedro Porro, particularly at the start of the season. Could he do it inverted? Could he do it in a back four? And he's been absolutely incredible. His creativity, his all-round game has been fantastic. Playing inverted, playing out wide, it feels like he can do it all. He's even improved defensively. Udogie's always been pretty solid defensively, but he was a massive part of the Newcastle win yesterday. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Spurs' inverted fullbacks, why it's so important, why it gives them an advantage over a lot of teams, how it works and build up progression, but also talk a little bit about that Newcastle win and why it worked so well. So as you can see, Spurs sort of line up in a 4-2-3-1, but in possession, it very much changes. To be honest, Basuma normally drops a bit deeper. To be honest, that's not quite accurate. The second one with Udogie and Porro sort of coming into midfield. And as you can see here, these red circles sort of highlight how far up the pitch Udogie and Porro were at times, how they were in midfield, their positional sense. It's not traditional position for fullbacks. They'd normally be out wide and slightly advanced at the centre-back rather than coming sort of centrally and in the middle. We could see multiple times they were sort of occupying those centre roles between the lines, which made it more difficult for Newcastle to defend against and also break through their lines. So we're going to talk about Udogie, we're going to talk about the goals, we're going to talk about his performance, and then we're going to dive into the Porro performance. So essentially what Udogie did is he came inside a lot. And when he came inside a lot, particularly for the first goal, it gave Ben Davies a lot of space on the ball to drive the ball up the pitch. And because Moron leaves Udogie, because he's like, oh, should I close down Davies? Udogie gets a bit more space up the pitch. Ben Davies advances up the pitch. Udogie advances up the pitch. When Davies drives into midfield, he takes advantage of the space that's left by Udogie. When Porro and Udogie are moving, driving into midfield, they leave the space when they drag the fullback with them, and that can help the centre-backs advance, and that helps the other players advance the ball up the pitch. And because Udogie's so narrow, that also leaves Son with Trippier isolated out wide, and we saw twice Son got an assist, and Son was probably the best player on the pitch because of the amount of problems he caused Trippier. Son's left out wide because Udogie goes in, brings Almiron with him. Son gets the ball 1v1, gets the best of Trippier twice, 2 assists, and it was brilliant. And I used this photo here, credit to the coach's voices, because it's a lot better than my annotation with the squiggly lines. And Udogie came in, he picked up the ball again in midfield, positions where you don't always expect fullbacks, plays out to Son, makes a run in the box. There you can see my squiggly lines. And Son crosses it in, and I think that was his first Tottenham goal. It was fantastic, but it wasn't just the goal, it wasn't just the movement for the goal. I think it was his movement in general and just general things he did throughout the game. Here, you can just see Udogie multiple times. He's getting the ball in those midfield areas and progressing the ball up the pitch. Because Almiron has to come in and track him, Son's then left in a lot of space just with Trippier. Son can isolate Trippier 1v1. Udogie's helping with ball progression. And he gets right into the box. He puts the cross in, but he can't find a teammate. But there's multiple times where he was just a threat in general, getting up there, driving the ball up the pitch, helping in progression, helping in transition, which really caused Newcastle problems. The Cells was scared for a lot of that game. And there was moments where he would get the ball and he'd get the ball high up the pitch. And here he actually won possession high up the pitch and he could drive in that cross. And you can see multiple times Udogie's coming in this midfield space, not what you'd expect a fullback, and he's taken the ball off Basuma, Ben Davies, Romero, whoever sort of is on the ball at the time, really helping him build up there to bring an extra body into midfield, overload the midfield, drag Almiron out of possession. He picks up the ball in those key areas, gets the ball, just plays it onto Davies, keeps the ball flowing, keeps playing the ball. The more you move the ball, the more the opposition has to run, keeps the opposition running around, moving on their toes as well, keeps passing the ball, and he's consistently picking up the ball in these midfield areas. He was essentially a midfielder, and time again, he wins the ball in midfield, he picks up the ball in midfield, and he's very press resistant, he's very comfortable on the ball. What I noticed about Udogie that I haven't seen anyone else mention is the way he uses his body and scans around before he makes a pass. That's such a great attribute to have as a player as well, when he picks up the ball here in these key areas and he's just driving the ball up the pitch. The amount of times Udogie and Porro, and we're going to get into Porro in a second, was contributing to ball progression. The amount of times they'd receive the ball in good areas where players were tight to them, use their body to shield off players, scan the pitch to make the right move, to make the right pass, to keep possession, to retain the ball, was fantastic. I'm a Man United fan and I've been complaining a lot about Man United's ability to not retain the ball in midfield, and I think that's why Kobbie Mainoo has been so praised, because he does this thing where he can receive the ball, scan his body and keep the ball rather than just keep losing the ball. And I thought Spurs' fullbacks offer that support to Basuma, Sarr, whoever's in midfield, but offer that support and ball retention to keep the ball, to keep possession, but also even better to progress the ball, whether it's brilliant passes, which you see a lot through Porro, breaking the lines, progression, dribbling the ball up the pitch. it was really, really good. And we're going to sort of dive more into Porro now, but I just wanted to highlight what Udogie does here. And again, shout out to Coach's Voice for highlighting this picture. This is the Porro assist into Richarlison, because my line's, again, all swiggly. But Porro did a really good job on the right-hand side, just like Udogie did on the left-hand side with sort of Basuma and Son linking up. And Udogie and Son definitely caused Trippier problems, and that was because of Udogie's movement, taking Almiron out of position. Trippier's isolated with Son. Son gets past him twice, 2 assists for Son. But Pedro Porro was also a big part of that. His passing was absolutely phenomenal. He played a part in a lot of the goals, not just when he got an assist, but indirectly as well. And he linked up very well with Sarr and Johnson on that right-hand side. And Kuleveski's often coming in sort of central, helping out. Kuleveski's also helping out both sides with the sort of overload on the wings that we see Ange do. And Porro is probably one of the best passers of the ball. I think he's in that Trent category, just behind Trent, in terms of actually ability to create, ability to pass, ball strike ability, technical ability. I think Porro is the second best on the ball in terms of passing precision after Trent in the Premier League for a fullback. And that, is a big achievement for someone that was getting written off quite a lot in the summer. But Porro's brilliant passing allowed him to find Richarlison, who made the run in behind. But we saw multiple times in the game, Johnson made those runs in behind, dragging players out, and Porro would find Johnson. But Porro's clipped ball brought it into Richarlison, which finished the game off. And Pedro Porro this season has been phenomenal. I remember even when they lost to Aston Villa, I was talking about how good Porro's passing was. 4 assists in the last 5 games, most goals and assists by a defender in the Premier League since his debut after Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's got 11, Trent's got 13, and Trent's a different gravy, who's played a lot more minutes as well. I think goals and assists per minute for a fullback, Pedro Porro is actually number 1 at the moment, which just says how good he's been. But he can play inverted or act as a traditional right-back, overlapping. He can play on the outside, he can play on the inside, which has made him unpredictable, especially because people were saying, will he be able to be playing the back 4? Will he be able to play inverted? But I've always said with Pedro Porro, in terms of technical ability, he's always had that. He's got that low centre of gravity. He's very good at controlling the ball, very press position, has the ability to use his body and scan. He can dribble, he can pass. His ball striking is fantastic. He evades the press well. I think Pedro Porro always had the technical ability to be able to adapt to Ange's system. And I always thought that in the summer. The question was defensively, could he be suspect, a bit like Trent? But he's been absolutely fantastic in Ange's system. I think he's improved a lot defensively, and his all-round game is brilliant. He helps a lot in build-up. Multiple times, Porro was getting the pitch here, ball here on the pitch in build-up, driving it forward, progressing the ball, bringing it from the second phase to the third phase. Again, gets the ball in midfield a lot, and he just finds those good passes, plays it in to Udogie here. Loads of just good passes. He always seems to pick the right pass. Again, picking up the ball in midfield, and he actually flicks it on behind and finds Kuleveski there. Always sort of finding the player, always sort of looking to pass forward, progress the ball as well, which is a good trait to have, which I think is what Ange wants of his players. Play it forward, attack. He's always got that mindset. He's not going back to the centre-back. He's comfortable in his passing ability. But even here, he played in an absolutely brilliant ball, ended up finding Son, and this actually resulted in the Richarlison goal when Son puts in the cross. All from Pedro Porro's very good ball in, his ability to play the ball long, to play players in. And this isn't just in the Newcastle game. I think in the Villa game, he put some really good balls in. I think his ability to find people is fantastic. And again, you can just see in general, just playing between the lines, makes those passes between the lines, picks up the ball, finds obviously Kuleveski in that space. And him, Kuleveski, Sarr, Brennan Johnson, causing that overload on the right, caused a lot of issues. And Spurs were very good in transition. Whenever Newcastle gave the ball away, boom, play it to Porro. Porro progresses up the pitch, plays that pass into Son, very good pass into Son, and that results in the penalty as well. So Porro was brilliant, Udogie was brilliant, and in conclusion, I think Spurs' fullbacks are so important for them this season because they play inverted and they're very important for Ange. Now, the fullbacks movement is what I think causes a lot of problems. It impacts the opponent's sort of pressure lines. They don't know who to mark. They don't know to follow. They don't know to press. It makes it difficult for the opponents. It also opens up space because the movement drags players out, which opens up more space in other areas, which makes it easier for Spurs to play in between the line. It allows for build-up because the fullbacks sometimes come in. They sometimes go out wide. It confuses oppositions. It gives them a lot to think about. But their positioning is so integral to building up. And Spurs are one of the best teams in progressing the ball from the first phase all the way to the final third and flooding the box, which is why Spurs have been so good this season. Not just against Newcastle. I know they had a blip of sort of 4 losses in 5, but that has been because of key injuries. But even in some of those losses, they've been good. But that is why Spurs have been so good in build-up, progression, because of the space created, because of the fullback's ability to progress the ball, and all round just Ange's system and how he's utilised Udogie and Porro and got them playing this brilliant football. So big credit to Ange. Big credit to Spurs' fullbacks. Let me know if you like these tactical videos. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. See you next time. Bye.